This is your boy Thugnificent from the Boondocks. Breathe it in, nigga, bask in it. That's right, I ain't working at UPS no more, nigga. I'm back on the block slinging that shit, nigga. And you watching Real Ninja Reviews. You smell me?
What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean Two Stacks of Real Ninja Reviews. And I'm here with a childhood favorite, Carl Jones. What's good, man?
What's good? What's good?
Oh, man, it's an honor and pleasure to have you here, man. It's just wild to put a face and your whole self here with growing up watching Boondocks, man, seeing your name on there, Black Dynamite, all that, man. Like, true fan sitting over here, man.
Oh, man.
For real.
Thank you. I'm honored, bro.
Man, so how you enjoying DreamCon so far?
It's amazing, man. I mean, seeing this many black nerds come together in one place is overwhelming. I mean, it's I mean, these guys, what they put together is just, I feel like, and I know this is just the beginning, so like just thinking about what this has the potential to become in like 5-10 years down the road, man. Like I could see this being much larger than even Comic-Con in San Diego. You know what I'm saying? So it's exciting.
It's crazy because you sound like me and my boys when we first got here. We were just looking around like, man, what is this?
Yeah.
So it's understandable.
I know Austin has never seen this many black people in their city before.
Oh, nah, man. Because I know I was walking around there. I was seeing a lot of people look like.
Yeah.
even some of the homeless people was looking like that. Like, oh, bro, what's going on?
Yeah.
So I wanted to ask you, what was it like going from Boondocks to Black Dynamite?
Well, for every show that I work on, I try to, bring whatever tools or knowledge that I learned from the last show to that one. You know what I'm saying? Because I'm a student. Even to this day, I'm always learning more and more. I'm a sponge. So when I was on the Boondocks, I soaked up and absorbed a lot from Aaron Magruder, being around him and, because we worked on the comic strip together too. That was he hired me to first work on the strip.
Right.
And then I moved over to the show. But I just, everything that I learned from that show, I try to apply it on Black Dynamite, but each show is still very different, right? So it's not like a one size fits all kind of situation. You got to adapt. So you try to take everything that you've learned from the last thing, but then you got to morph it into something new. Meaning like, whatever formula that you have, you gotta, you might have to revise it a little bit in order for it to suit the needs of that particular production. Not even so much as on the creative side, but just like on the production side. You know what I mean? Because you'll be working with a new animation studio, new production team. So you got to find a rhythm. On the creative side, I just try to make the show as honest as possible. You know what I'm saying? Like the comedy, not to say the comedy is the easy part, because it's not, all of it is hard. But, making sure that there's like a morsel of truth in every joke, or at least the premise. You know what I'm saying? For example, like the Richard Pryor episode, I was inspired by like a real event. There was actually a situation where Richard Pryor he threw a party with all these black Hollywood elites and all his friends he invited there. And this is what I heard anyway.
Okay.
So he announced that he wanted to basically start his own studio. I think it was called Indigo. And he basically wanted to like create this like black Hollywood empire. And when he announced this at the party, everybody just started laughing. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? And he was like, no, I'm serious. And he started laughing. And I just thought to myself, well, what if Richard Pryor never meant to be laughed at? What if he wanted to be like Malcolm X? Because he was a truth teller. You know what I'm saying? So like I would take like a morsel of truth like that and figure out like a flip on it, in the Black Dynamite universe, and seeing how that would. But we would do, that's the same thing. It's kind of a similar thing that we would do with Boondocks. Like we would see something that's happening in the world, like the teacher that was using the N-word, you know what I'm saying? And do our flip on it, and you know what I mean? Like, so those kind of things, I think, just kind of, from a creative standpoint, it's somewhat of a little bit of a formula,
And it's wild you say that, because a lot of those instances that happened in the world, a lot of people didn't even know nothing about them until they got on Boondocks.
Yeah.
it pretty much brought a lot of attention to those things, and then research after the show go up. Like, hold on, is this real?
Yeah.
It's wild. Black Dynamite is like a favorite of us at our podcast, like the movie, the show. And while we on that, I gotta ask just 3 questions about that. The crackhead's delight.
Yeah. Yeah.
How did that come about?
It's funny. Let me just say this real quick. So it's a bass head, right?
Right.
But he started out as a crackhead, and so Charlie Murphy was on the show, right? I'm sure you know. So he came in to record the very first episode that he recorded, and we had a scene with him, his character, and this crackhead, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I'll never forget. He was like, "Hey man, I can't do this scene, man. It ain't right." I was like, "What's up?" He was like, "Wasn't no crackheads in the 70s, man." He said, "They was bass heads." He said, "I know because I used to sell it." So I was like, "All right, we're gonna change it to bass head." So we changed, you know what I mean? And, but I wrote that song, you know what I mean? And it was really, really hard. So I listened to Rapper's Delight over and over and over and over again. And it took a while, bro. And actually the song is longer, but we had to cut it.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, for the show. But Orlando Jones played bass head. He killed it. He killed it. And he was sweating in the booth, man. It took a few takes, but he killed it.
Oh man. Okay, one more. No, 2 more. It was when Black Dynamite was he scared of swimming?
Yes.
And had to thick James?
Yes.
Okay. And Honeybee.
The show is so stupid.
It is. And it's like it's etched into my brain. Like when like the Bo Derek scene.
Yeah.
And they just like, why, bitch? Why?
Yeah.
Where did that inspiration come from?
Well, that idea kind of came from, it's one of those things where, like, let's say Kim Kardashian for example, right? Like everybody makes a big deal out of her ass being big. Mm-hmm. That's like the average black woman walking around. You know what I mean? So it's funny. It was always funny to me to see people react that way. You know, when a white girl does something that a black woman's already been doing for years, and it's, you know what I mean. Yeah. So it was kind of, it was a satire. Like, so it was like showing Honeybee, with this, you know what I mean. Yeah. With the same braids or whatever, but the white girl does it, and now it's like they saw a unicorn.
A big deal,
yeah.
Man, it's so wild, like, cause like the fact that y'all thought about that and incorporated into the show, cause like it's a lot of things that we think about on the day to day, but just like common stuff. So, Martian Blueberry.
Yes.
Okay, so. It's like an IP. It's like an IP hub. No, not IP, but like a hub for Black creators, right?
Yeah, basically. It started out as a full service animation studio that we launched during the pandemic. Actually, at the beginning of the pandemic, and it was right around the time that I finished up on Last OG. And I thought I was going to start doing more live action stuff, but once the pandemic hit. A lot of people were demanding animation. You know what I mean? Because it was pandemic proof. Hollywood shut down all their live action sets, and so we got to working, and but the inspiration behind this is something I've always wanted to do. Yeah. Right. This just presented the best moment in time to do it, but. There was always a problem in translating our culture in animation, no matter what animation studio I work with. I've been in the game for about 18 years, and every studio that I work with domestically, to Korea to Japan, it was still really hard to get them to understand, some of our cultural nuances, right? So so because of that, I knew that this was a need that needed to be fulfilled. I figured there were other studios or creatives that were also running into the same problems that we had. A lot of people don't know, for the Boondocks, I used to act out every single scene, and we have to film it and send it to the artists so that they could understand how we move and walk and talk, even down to like the fashion and our features and stuff. Like, we sent tons and tons and tons of reference, right? So it ended up taking a lot of time and resources, and sometimes we would go over budget because we had to revise boards and character designs over and over and over again. So Martian Blueberry, which is actually another way of saying strange fruit, is it's a full service animation studio plus creative agency, right? And the creative agency side really just does explore the idea of, creating original IP and exploring many different verticals, because it's a multi-vertical creative agency. So we not only focus on animation, we also focus on comics, graphic novels, collectibles, Web3, NFTs, gaming. You know what I'm saying? So so there's many different arms, to this company, and so we partnered. We're in the process of building those arms out now. So we're still in the beginning stages of launching it, but we have some really, really strong partners that we work with in those different verticals that can help us, explore, exploit these IPs that we're creating.
That's dope. It sounds like you got a hand in a lot, man.
Yeah.
I was just going to ask you a question about gaming, because not just animation, TV shows and stuff like that. Gaming is big because, like, representation in games of people of color don't be always good.
Yeah.
Even with the voice acting. So
true.
I'm glad to hear that. So you said you've been in the game 18 years, right?
Yeah.
Okay. With that being said, how would you say then, when you first started till now, say you're OG now?
Yeah.
So what's the parallels from then and now with technology and things we have with creating shows, animation, things like that? I think that I love technology, right? And I think there's a lot of things that have been made easier to do, Right.
But what is unfortunate is a lot of animators that are coming out of school now are not being trained thoroughly to do traditional 2D animation. Not to say they're not being trained at all, but because of programs like Harmony, and some people even still use Flash, and there's other programs that are more or less 2D digital applications, right? So they're more puppeting the characters, you know what I'm saying, and creating paths for the characters to move versus actually having to animate them, in a traditional 2D hand-drawn way. And so I personally still, when it comes to 2D, I personally still love, like traditional hand-drawn animation. Yeah. So it's a lot harder to find artists that know how to do that, I had a show at Cartoon Network at one time, and I was actually, I had Joe Murray, who was the creator of Rocko's Modern Life. He did the storyboards for this pilot. And when I showed it to Cartoon Network, they were like, "We don't have any guys that can animate this." Like we had to go find some, people from back when, like the early '90s or mid '90s, But that's when you had like the Cow and Chickens and the you know what I'm saying. Johnny Bravos and the, you know what I mean? Like, but those to me, like, I still love those like cartoony cartoons, you know? And so I that's the only downside, or it's not, because it's not even necessarily a downside, because the upside is you are able to, do things, I guess, a lot faster and a lot more efficiently, but I think there's a certain magic that's lost,
Yeah. With that being said, Cartoon Network, man. Cartoon Network. Yeah. So they closed down Cartoon Network Studios, right?
Yeah.
Was that part of the beginning of your career? or like a little bit after?
Yes and no, meaning that, I started out with Adult Swim, which is a part of Cartoon Network.
Right.
But Adult Swim falls under William Street, which is in Atlanta. But same family.
Right.
You know what I mean? Just a different branch from the tree. But so I didn't really work. I worked at Cartoon Network at the actual studio in Burbank for Black Dynamite season 2.
Okay.
Right. So, and it was really dope because that's like, that place is like a sacred place. You know what I
Right.
mean? Like all the greats came through there. Dwayne McDuffie, who, I got to give a shout out to because he inspired a lot of Black animators and artists and writers, creatives. But there was a lot of people that came through there, man. Gindi and all the legends and stuff. So it was for me to even be in that building, I was just like, you know what I mean? Like I was just honored to be there. And so to see that it's coming to an end like this, man. Like it's that's pretty emotional, man. And I met a lot of great people there too, that worked on my show and other shows,
How was it like working with? Did you work with Mike Lazo?
Oh yeah, Mike Lazo. Yeah, Mike Lazo. Mike Lazo. He was the head of Adult Swim, and he really, really, man. To me, he was a visionary and a one of a kind mind. Like, this guy, like he's just amazing. I mean, if you think about all these other networks, right? Like no one's really had the kind of success that Adult Swim has had. Meaning like Adult Swim has captured or touched culture. In a lot of ways. There's networks that have produced some cool shows, but Adult Swim, they really they were tapped into the culture and the zeitgeist of where the world was. You know what I'm saying? And so Mike Lazo, I think he was a big reason why that happened because he really let the creatives do them. You know what I'm saying? And because I always tell people like there's like how do you pitch Aqua Teen Hunger Force as a TV show to any other network outside of Adult Swim? Like there's a milkshake.
That's a tough pitch.
Right. There's a milkshake, a French fry, and a wad of meat that lived next door to a guy named Carl. It's like, how do you sell that show to like Fox or whatever, right? So
look at you crazy.
Yeah. So Lazo, I mean, he's like I said, he's the truth, bro. And a lot I found later when he would tell me that other network executives would. He would talk to them or consult with them just so that they understand his formula and how he has the success that he has for that 18 to 30. Actually, I think it was 18 to 30, 18 to 32. I think was a demographic that was their sweet spot. But when we did the Boondocks, we even actually opened up that more because we actually brought in a female demographic that they didn't even have before. Because it was 18 to 34 male. That was their demo. But then it kind of expand a little bit, but that was on the weekends, 18 to 34, they had it on lock. You know what I'm saying? And yeah, and that place, I could go on forever and ever and talk about them because like they're like family to me. You know what I'm saying? And it was like a family, really, really tight knit. I think as the network began to get bigger and, Turner started to kind of get their hands a little bit more into what they're doing, it started to become a little bit more corporate. And then with the merger of Discovery, the whole thing that's happened with Warner, it's now a different thing than it was back when I was there. But Mike Lazo is man, like I owe him everything because he gave me an opportunity, not just with the Boondocks, but with Black Dynamite, with Freaknik the musical. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I don't even know if we could have did Freaknik anywhere else other than Adult Swim.
That's the one where it had Rick Ross as the big dude in there and Charlie Murphy in there, right?
Yeah, Charlie Murphy. I mean, bro, we had Lil Wayne, Snoop.
That was an all-star cast right there.
Yeah, George Clinton, Bootsy Collins. It was crazy. We had so many people in it.
Man. So, I know this is a tough time. So, the writer's strike. How has that affected you?
I mean, I'm affected by it because everyone else is affected by it. Like I don't want to see people not be treated fairly and not be paid for, the work that they do. And the reality is, you know what I'm saying, there is no Hollywood without the creative. You know what I'm saying? So, it's one of those things, man, where I have mixed feelings about it, meaning I hate that it's happening, right? Because I don't think it's right. But I don't know, I relish in the fact that it is happening because I feel like it's going to push us to a point where we find another way. You know what I mean? Because anytime we're dealt with extreme adversity, just as human beings, specifically Black people, when we push into a corner, we get very creative and we find new solutions and we become innovative. You know what I mean? And that's where the best innovations come from. It comes out of chaos, or it comes out of hardship. It comes out of, you know what I'm saying, dealing with, I think we thrive, unfortunately, like I'm talking about creatively, we thrive in the worst circumstances. Right. That's when you see the best artwork coming out. I think the example, it's like what they call it, the rose that grows from the concrete, right? Yeah. Like it's going to find a way. So look, they can continue. I mean, you heard in the trades, one of the studio execs said they're going to keep this strike going until writers lose their homes and get evicted from their homes and stuff like that.
Like, what kind of mindset is that to have? Like,
well, it's a mindset that people need to understand is real. Because now that the what do you call it, the veil is lifted, right, and we're dealing with the truth and the reality of it. Now we need to make some real hard decisions and choices about where we want to go with this and how we can work together. Because I do feel like it's going to get resolved at some point. I don't know if it's going to. I don't think they're going to meet the demands of the WGA. Maybe SAG. I'm not 100% sure. But even still, even if they meet us halfway or a quarter of the way, we should still be figuring out a new way to create and distribute our content so that we have options. Not to say fuck Hollywood, because I'm not saying that. Because I think Hollywood serves it's a great partnership. You know what I'm saying? If there's a more equitable framework, it's a great partnership. It works perfectly if everyone plays fair. But if they're not playing fair, we need to have options.
Right.
When we don't have options and they got a monopoly on distribution, then we don't have a choice and we get abused. You know what I'm saying? So.
And I think, me personally, like quarantine played a part in that because, in the panel, you said quarantine is pumping out content. Now to the point where some of the content is not that good, or even people just tired of seeing certain things, and it's not even spent all this money, and they like, oh, we gonna play the cut. We gonna have to get at y'all writer. So I hope it get resolved soon. Me personally, because like, I'm a fan of other people's work. The longer it goes on, the longer we gotta wait to see that work.
Yeah. Well, here's the bigger problem, right? Yeah. The bigger problem, and I spoke about it a little bit yesterday, but the bigger problem is all the streaming platforms are facing what they call an attention recession.
Right.
Right. They don't have the eyeballs. You know what I'm saying? And the advertising dollars aren't there because it's streaming platforms. So they're subscription based, right? And although the subscriber rate is moving up, the amount of people actually watching the platform is going down, right? So they are trying to. So in most corporations, they think like this, right? Oh, we are competing against these other streamers, so we need to have more content than they do, right? So everybody just went on a spending spree and started creating as much content as they can to compete with the next streamer. But you know what they forgot about? The people that are watching it.
Right.
So it when you're creating anything, right? You're creating something that touches the hearts and the lives of people, right? That's what real art does. But when you take your focus off of the people and you don't care about the people you're making it for, and you're only thinking about bottom lines and numbers and metrics and money and who your competitors are, then you lose the audience. And now that you've lost the audience, right? They don't know how to get them back. So you see these attempts, because you do have all these social media platforms that are monetizing our data and our information, right? Or selling it to corporations so that they can find ways to get that engagement.
Yeah.
But by the time they process those analytics and those numbers and those metrics and they come up with ways to create that engagement, the culture shifts into something else. Right? Because the culture is moving, it's morphing, it's changing, and as we feed it, it develops into its, you know what I'm saying? It's like you can't really you can't that's why when people try on social media and they'll try to make something they'll try to create something to go viral, it doesn't usually work. It has to kind of happen organically. It happens naturally even when you least expect it, because you know what I mean?
Yeah, because when it's forced, you can see right through that.
Exactly. But so it's not, so I think that they have a bigger issue, right? Where they have to really they have to. I'll just say the way that Hollywood is set up right now, the way the entertainment sector is set up right now, the whole thing has to be reassembled from the ground up if you truly want to, find a way to integrate it into where the culture is moving today. And part of that means creating a more equitable, system for the creatives and the people that are basically the blood of the entire industry. You know what I'm saying?
And on that note, let me ask you, what you currently working on now?
I can't be too specific, but I have some stuff in development.
Okay.
Martian Blueberry is we got a few. I'm trying to see what I can say. I'm developing some stuff with Meg Thee Stallion. Developing some stuff with Tracy Morgan.
Okay.
And Trippie Redd.
Oh man.
A few people. Oh, and Super Duper Kyle. Yes, and we had a panel the other day, and we actually premiered like a short sizzle for Karaku, which is Kyle's brainchild.
I was trying to get in there, it was not happening.
Oh man,
the lines here.
Yeah.
Even with a press pass, it was hard again. So,
gotcha.
Oh man, it's been a pleasure, man.
Oh man, it's been my pleasure, bro. This is dope.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, sir.